And hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. This is a new Monday, a new episode of this series, Grooming with a Positive Mental Attitude. Today, a little more about on topic how to inspire others. And I think there was not a better person to call in and to chat on this topic rather than Blake Hernandez. Thank you, Blake, very much for saying yes to this, and welcome to this podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I hope that I can deliver. Let's inspire some people. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. You're doing that. Actually, that becomes like your everyday job. I don't know, is that actually more motivating people of everything you do, or grooming, inspiring your clients to want more? I would kind of, what would you say for yourself, like your primary calling today would be a motivator, inspirator, or the groomer itself? How would you call yourself today?
Oh, man, I guess I am kind of a jack of all trades. I haven't worked as a commercial groomer, 9 to 5, 5 days a week in a couple of years. But on that same note, like I don't have millions of followers online or anything like that. I've got a very small, humble following that is a niche group of people that really care about the grooming industry, and they can see how much I care about it.
That
So but I do think maybe you're right. The first and foremost thing that I try to do every day is have a positive attitude, share my journey with others in the hopes that they can live like a super fun, amazing life themselves. So I hope that people think motivation is my number one, because it is a daily challenge.
There you go. It is a daily challenge. So before we learn how you actually keep yourself motivated in order to motivate others, because that's the challenge on its own, let's learn about a little more about how the God created the Blake, who the Blake is today, because that's what I'm really intrigued by. The first time I ever learned about you was with that cat video that actually went viral. That was the first time I actually get my attention to you. Can you actually tell me a little more about that incident that I actually, I'm sure about that the people that follows you already know, but I would love to know a little bit the background story of that little one that actually got me attracted to you. You
Uh,
remember?
yes, I do. The infamous cat video. It was very polarizing in how people reacted to it. There was a lot of things going on my end. So first and foremost, we had actually just opened the salon that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
and I just moved to San Diego, and I didn't have a car. I live in the neighborhood, so I usually just walk to work, and I was here by myself, and I had a dog here, and I had a cat come in, and the owner was foreign and seemed to have a slight uh, social or mental processing disorder, and we really struggled at check-in to get a clear idea of what had been going on with this cat. Um, the cat was super matted and smelled like urine. So as a groomer, I instinctually just like take off this pelt, right? I just like remove this pelt from this cat right away. And I bathe the cat, and I wrap him in a towel, and I put him in the bathtub. And and I finished working on the dog that I was working on before the cat got there. And when I went to get the cat, I noticed that he was still pretty cool. He didn't seem to be like warming up like normal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I immediately call the owner and the emergency contact and say, and they're not answering. So I called the owner of the store, because I was managing. I'm just the manager here. And I said, hey, like I've got a dog here. What do I do? Unfortunately, because we were new, some of the safety protocols weren't hardwired in.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't have a car. So I ran to the nearest vet, which is 2 blocks down the road. The cat was still very much alive, and the owner had been notified. When I got to the vet, they declined service. They said that they were too busy. And they told me that the cat was in danger, and they told me no. So I had to rush to an emergency vet, where they took in the cat. The cat was, again, very much alive. And the owner declined service, and took the cat home, where he did pass that night. It was all very tragic and very like traumatizing to myself. Um, So there were a few things that I wish I had done differently. Like at check-in, I should have checked the cat's capillary refill. I would have seen that he was dehydrated, like in a very dangerous way at check-in if I had just checked his gums before I rendered any services. Even though he was matted and smelled like pee, it should have just been the first thing that I had done. So that I do regret. In terms of the video that you're talking about, it was about a 45-second long video that I had posted in the time between contacting the owner of the salon and waiting to hear an answer. I was just showing that I had never met this cat before. All I was trying to do was help it, and I was just losing it. I was completely mortified. I was so sad and so distressed. And I just wanted to show like how much groomers care about every animal. Like that's how we get into it. And it was just such a tragic thing to be a part of. And I don't feel like enough of those videos are shared. Like I feel like it's always these videos of people beating animals and really just instead of just showing like what neglect can lead to and that bond that we make with every animal that we work with. So that's what I was trying to share. Some people became keyboard veterinarians that were diagnosing this cat, you know, from a 50-second video, and really wanted to hang me out to dry, it felt like. And a lot of other people got the message. It did go viral. It ended up in just like generic cat groups, where the general consensus was, I wish you were my cat groomer. I wish that you cared for my cat. I can't believe you had to go through that with this cat. I'm so sorry. I wish you were my cat groomer. So, you know, sometimes the negative people speak the loudest, which we could talk about in this whole motivational, inspirational hour or whatever. But the general idea came across, which is, you know, we really care. Male, female, new groomer, old groomer, first time grooming, a long time client, it doesn't really matter. We make like these very intense bonds with these animals by working on them, and that's what I was trying to show.
Okay, the which kind of owner was that? You said like it was already like the owner on its own was like mentally unstable, like or
he had issues communicating in the beginning. Basically, he was an older gentleman. He didn't seem to be from around here, and he wasn't like he kept saying, "Oh, he's been getting into lots of mischief." And I was asking him like what that meant. He's just been extra mischievous the last couple of days. And I don't know if that just means the cat was really uncomfortable the last few days, or if he was trying to make up an excuse for why the cat was in such poor condition. But he just had really struggled giving me normal answers. And so it could have been that he was just trying to lie to cover up the neglect of his animal. Or maybe he did struggle, you know. It wasn't like I wasn't saying he was a crazy person. I just in terms of
but you know, sometime our responsibility would be to motivate clients as well, because there is something that we all struggle with, is that actually learning about, as you said, like now when you tell the story, there is a lot of red flags like all over the place. But when you're experiencing a new shop just open, you wanna, you know, make everything right and perfect, and you don't have everything in place. Like this story says a lot about how everything needs to be wired in, as you said, in order to have a protocol, so you do what's right for everyone, you know, including client, yourself, and the animal down the road, because that's what we are all about here for. And thank you. Yeah, that was very emotional video for me, that actually caught my eye on you, kind of like, oh my God, look at the way he approached entire thing. And I like I like your emotional entanglements that you actually shared with us, that left a lot of impacts on myself. And then I kind of, you know, sticked there, learned a lot about you. But let's get a little back. Like you did in 9 years such a lot of things that other people don't do in entire careers, like that last like 20, 30, or maybe more years. Like, how did you ended up having an idea becoming a groomer? What happened there? Who was Blake before he became a professional?
So I was living in San Francisco at the time, and I had just been working regular old retail jobs, and I fell in with the wrong crowd. I was doing drugs with the wrong people and couldn't actually hold down a job very well. Um, and so my mom had this like backyard bred lab of litters, and the mom didn't make it. And my mom said, if you want one of these puppies, then you need to come and get it because I work and I can't take care of these like very needy puppies.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get clean enough to pass for not being a bad kid around my mother. So I did, and I ran down and I got this dog from her. And turns out that 2-week-old puppies need lots of attention, and I couldn't just leave. So I stayed home. I never left the house for like 2 months. I just took care of this dog. I lived off of every ounce of savings that I had, and then I realized that I wanted to work with dogs. I just didn't really know how. So I had done some volunteer work in the city as it was, and just decided to start doing a little bit of volunteer work at the animal shelter. And then I went to a grooming school, and that was online grooming school. And I immediately became a professional groomer, and that is where that's where they continued paying for my education. So I went right into the master grooming program.
So you finished online grooming school?
Yes.
How did you have your practical skills? How did you have your practical skill training, or how that goes?
After you do all of the written portions, you get 100 hours with a local mentor, and mentors qualify based on like a few things. Some of those things are just like running a legitimate business and having legitimate insurance and all of that. But other things are like they have to complete a certain amount of dogs a day, and they have to have been grooming a certain amount of hours or years, and then they can be a hands-on mentor for 100 hours. That's at least how it was back then. And so in San Francisco, there's tons and tons of salons. So I was able to find a mentor pretty quick. And the second my hours were over, I went into working.
Wonderful. So that's a pretty much inspiring story, because actually you ended up having force yourself enough to learn as much as you can in order to start a business as soon as you will be out from the online school and 100 clock of training.
I didn't start my own business, but yeah, I was grooming, right? So you had to build your own client list and start working like at those skills. But I didn't start my own business for many years.
Yeah, but you started working with the clients, right?
Straight
away. Yeah. So what kept you motivated on fulfilling all of these online classes and running through the program that's actually maybe can be very boring, can it?
So I think, unfortunately, I mean, just in true honesty, I think, unfortunately, in the beginning, a lot of it was spite to show people that grooming was a real thing. Like when I realized it's what I wanted to do, and I realized that my mom didn't think it was a real career, and my dad didn't think I'd be able to support myself or whatever, it made me think that I wanted to prove them wrong. So I wanted to make sure that not only did I become a groomer, but I wanted to be like the best groomer. So right out the gate, I was very motivated with trying to prove people wrong. And I actually remember going down the line and remembering, oh my God, like I'm no longer doing it for that reason. And so there was, in the beginning, I 100% will note that I was doing it out of spite. And just trying to show that I could do it. It was a real thing. They were wrong. And it was around the time that I went to, and I don't know how the interview is going to go, but it was around the time that I got the Netflix documentary series feature that I decided that I realized that I didn't care to rub it in their faces. Like it wasn't like oh, look at how you were wrong anymore. It was just I was just so happy to be there. And I realized that I was doing it because of those positive reasons. And it's kind of been that way since. So
Yeah, that's fair enough. Then let's kind of learn about how did you ended up in that retail space, working, being surrounded with the wrong people that actually later on pushed you right path. How that happened? Like how was your childhood? Where did you grow up? Like how was that going on?
it depends on like what facet of my childhood you want to talk about, right? Like if you want to look at me as a competitor, I was always a competitor, right? Like I was in the spelling bee and went to like state almost every year. Always did the oral language competitions. I was 7th in the nation in a division of gymnastics. We were 10th in the world. On my cheer team, I have first place trophies for martial arts competitions or tournaments. So, I was always a very, very, very competitive kid. And so to see me still be competitive isn't really a surprise. Um, I had a troubling childhood, and it's no one's fault, right? Everyone's always trying their best. And most of the troubling part is really just when you're gay and people don't know that you're gay. And that's probably, I think, the hardest thing about being gay as a kid, because like when you have things about you that you can see, then people are usually more sensitive to not say it in front of you because they can see it, right? If a kid has some sort of outward abnormalcy, then the adults in the room don't make comments about that because they know to be sensitive about that outward abnormality, right? But when a kid is homosexual or anything under that umbrella, and you're 7 and you don't have any way of outwardly portraying that, and you hear the people that you love, like your mother or your father or your brother or your best friend, say negative things about homosexuality or anything under that umbrella, they don't hold back. It almost feels like you get to see the most real opinion because you don't have a tattoo on your forehead that says it. So they don't know to be sensitive around you when you're 5 or to be sensitive around you when you're 9. And so I think that created drama that has now resolved in the truth, right? Living in honesty and out and proud and having those discussions to heal allows me to have a really great relationship with everyone, but everyone has issues growing up, I think.
So actually coming out as a gay was the pretty tough thing for you to do, right?
Actually, my mom and I were like fighting at the time, and she was going to kick me out of the house. And I was like, well, fine, but I'm gay. And
There is much more.
Just to be a jerk because I just wanted her to be more mad. I wanted to win the fight.
Okay. Did you?
And, obviously it diffused the fight, actually. And we had a good conversation, and she didn't kick me out.
There you go. It kind of like it came out like a savior as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, how old were you then?
18. I just graduated high school.
Oh, and then what you do first after that? Like, where do you go? Which school you go, or what your work becomes like? How the life looks like when you come out in year of 18 and get all of that burden off the shoulder?
I became a go-go dancer. I was a gymnast, and so I was like, I'm gonna be a go-go dancer. I had this great little body.
So you get from one side of the kind of all closed and everything, kind of the don't see, don't ask, don't make any notes, into the go-go dancer.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did. I don't know.
That's kind of pretty heavy burden off if you can be immediately become like a go-go dancer.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do anything too crazy other than the go-go dancing thing, I guess. I lived fairly close to LA, and so it was easy to go do that. And then I wanted to move to San Francisco, and so it was expensive. So I'd work retail jobs during the day, and I'd dance at night.
There you go. For how long you did that? And that actually that opened the door of that relationship with the friends and opened the drug alley to you, or something else later on happened?
It didn't. It wasn't that. It was just being in a big city alone. I moved to San Francisco for a guy,
Mhm.
and that guy was not what I expected him to be, right?
Yes.
And uh, and and all the friends that I thought I had made were, of course, really his friends, not mine. So, I had no friends, I had no family, and it was very expensive, and I was just depressed all the time. So that's really what sent me down that road. The dancing thing, I think I just always wanted to do. I think I always wanted to do something that, when you first come out, you may not all become go-go dancers, but I think everyone does kind of jump to the other side of the spectrum. They want to be like totally out or whatever. And I guess that was my version of that. And it was just,
Did
when
you?
you're young, it was good. It was just good money. So I would be able to make easy money every weekend instead of losing it.
Easy come, easy go. Is that how it goes? Easily come, easily go.
Yeah, I guess mo money, mo problems or
There
whatever.
you go. So, did actually the skills you learned on that side of the kind of being a go-go dancer in front of the people actually build some skills inside you that you are kind of utilizing now, that you are kind of swimming on still you doing this job?
I think that everything that you do makes you who you are. I think,
Fair enough.
you could say that go-go dancing was a way to do that, but so was being a child spelling in front of 100 classmates, or schoolmates, on a stage. All these things prepared me to be uh, more
Good.
outgoing or more comfortable in front of others, or whatever. So you could spin it however you want. The extra hours, helped show that I had the work ethic. I think it's however you want to look at the situation. But I think everything I've done has made me who I am. So
There you go. So and actually then that breakup that you was going through once you made that move to San Francisco and losing all of those mutual friends that actually are his friends, and then how you arise from there, how you get yourself up and running. Is that what led you to the dog? Is that what led to this little Labrador?
yeah, basically, yeah. I was living on Treasure Island, which is like this little itty bitty island in the Bay of San Francisco, which is still considered San Francisco City, but it's like a little detached.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big enough place where we had a yard and a lot of communal space in the house. And so I wanted a dog. I didn't have friends. I wanted a dog, and it was having this puppy and watching it. Well, like when I finally started leaving the house, I would turn on like Animal Planet or whatever, one of the animal shows, and Animal Behavior College had a bunch of commercials on that programming. So I just kind of started thinking like, oh, grooming, that'd be fun. So yeah, I mean, it all leads to something later on. You just have to appreciate it.
Yeah, let yourself. I actually live. I follow this gratitude challenge that you have on your wall, and it's pretty inspiring. Reading the stories about how the people, how the God closes one doors and then actually He opens the other doors, and oftentimes we do a gratitude and the prayers to the people that did good to us, but they will never get a chance to give us a good if someone else first doesn't do a bad. So it's kind of just always, one things happen, and then if we focus on the event, turns out to be very bad event, but the consequences of bad event become very good actually. So oftentimes, sometimes we need to realize maybe we should put on the gratitude list also the people that helped us become stronger because we overcome challenges that they put us in, that we would never experience actually if we wouldn't have them on our path. I guess that's the way to look at it as well, huh?
Yeah, no, I think that's valid. What made me really, I guess, start looking at the whole gratitude thing was just realizing um, how much you can impact a child's day, right? Like you, if you tell a kid that the thing that they did in class is the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen, you can really just completely change that kid's day in a way that you don't have impact on adults anymore. Like you could tell an adult that great job on that spreadsheet. You got it in faster than everyone and it's perfect. And they may appreciate the compliment or the praise, but it's fleeting, right? And with kids, there's just such a huge impact. And so that goes on a negative way, right? A kid comes and asks you something full of hope and full of heart, and you snap at them. It can be so crushing to the child. And so that's when it just made me realize that really we should be more grateful for everything that we have in life. And so I find myself ever since doing that challenge, I find myself daily just thinking of how we should be more grateful for, I mean, just everything in our lives they should be grateful for. And if we don't show gratitude for what we have, I just don't believe that we're showing the universe that we deserve more. So
Yeah, actually, because that is exactly how the God operates. He said, like, if you are grateful for what you have, he said, you think this is the best you can do it? Look at this. And is this what you think is the best? No, watch, I can do more. But if we complain all the time and say, wow, this is the worst, he said, you think this is the worst you can live off? Let's see. You think this is the worst you can handle? Let's try a little harder. So that one of the challenges in this Grooming with a Positive Mental Attitude series podcast that I actually started was that list the 100 people that impacted your life, no matter is that something that caused a good or bad event, but actually see who shaped you the way you are today. And that's on the regular schedule for my students, but this is kind of open to the air, like a podcast that I do. And then the people reported back the great outcome, like finding 100 people to be grateful for who shaped our life the way we are today. It's opening exactly what you just said. Like, yeah, you think this is the best you can handle? Watch me give it more. That's wonderful. And then actually the Netflix, how did Netflix happen?
So I think that was one of the last people I mentioned was Todd Shelley, who runs Barkley Productions. They were, whoever was doing the Netflix Dogs documentary series had chosen this man Kenichi to follow and highlight through the whole series, and or through the whole episode. And because it was they had to go to Japan. They had gone like a month before Pasadena, and they're supposed to follow him, on his cross country competition in Pasadena. And they just kind of realized that he didn't have a whole lot of personality to carry a whole episode. He was very loving with the dogs, and he gave very heartfelt interviews, but it wasn't dazzling. And so they said, we need someone with dazzle. And so the contest that he was entered in, I was also entered in. And so Todd looks down his list and says, well, this guy is a good guy if you want dazzle. So they called me, and I went it was actually pretty easy because it was just a camera crew that kind of followed me doing my regular thing. So they came to my salon, they came to my hotel, they followed me through the prep. They interviewed me a few times, but really they just recorded me competing. I think the only part that was kind of funny was, they they're trying to film more than just us, right? So they're filming other people in the contest ring to take a picture or take shots of the end of the competition. And I, do the final scissoring, right? And the judge comes over to check, and none of the camera guys were around me when she came to check. And I actually think that's why she did it, because like there was space to move around. So she like came and checked, combed my work, and then was walking away. And the camera crew like runs up and they're like, "Can you do that again?" So like she combed through my work again, and I was just like, "No!" Like now she's going through my stuff twice with the comb, and she didn't have to, but I placed third, so I still made it.
There you go. So how did you find that? Was it like challenging for you? It was just so natural.
Did you watch it?
No. No, I didn't watch it.
It was able to be more natural because they were just following me do my thing. The most nerve-wracking part of it was when they came to my salon, they set up their very expensive camera equipment right next to my table, and like they had it on this track. And I knew it was just gonna be like hot, you see the old sitcoms and their makeup is all terrible because we watch it in high definition now, right? So I'm thinking, I've seen my grooming on phone cameras a lot, but I don't know how it's going to look on high definition camera. And with it being like right connected to my table, I was very scared. And like I said, I did Netflix and it was totally fine. So then when Pooch Perfect came along, I wasn't as nervous. I was like, I've already seen my grooming on high definition and it looks good. So I'm sure it's better now. I'll be fine.
So was you kind of trying to make up? Did they follow like a life around, or only you in a shop?
Netflix, you mean?
Yeah.
They just came to my shop.
So they were kind of interesting in your how you say that, your professional way of doing things, right? Like a grooming itself.
They didn't really do that. It was just they interviewed me in my shop like on a day that right before competition. So I mean they had to have the lighting all weird and stuff. So it wasn't like I was just grooming, and it was a regular day or anything like that. So it was staged in some sense, but it was just so that they could interview me in my own shop. And then the rest, I just did what I normally do. So like they came to my grooming competition and they watched me prep and they watched me like walk around with my dog and take pictures and things. But the majority of what they ended up making was what was on the table. So there obviously wasn't much to that because we had to be in the contest ring, regular contest time, regular contest judging. So
that's great. So let me get you back before we come to this close, present and past event like a Pooch Perfect, things like that. Like, let's dig a little in that what shaped Blake, who the Blake actually is today. Okay. If you would need to pick up the most intense event that helped you become who you are today, what would that be? What would that be actually?
It would just be meeting Jill Haley, the owner of Foxy Roxy Supply Company. I think both of us believe that the careers that we have, we may have been able to achieve on our own in many, many, many years.
Okay, when that happened, when that happened, what events led actually to that happening? So, okay, I'm at this show, or how did you meet her?
I had just gotten up to open level. I went to Super Zoo. I placed in large poodle and sporting class, got my first groom team points, and a local groomer to where I'm from knew Jill Haley because she used to work for her because Jill also owned a chain of mobile grooming vans. And so the employee asked me if I could teach a seminar for her employees. And I said yes. So the initial relationship was for me to go teach her employees. But while I was waiting for that time to pass before the interview, or sorry, before the seminar, I realized that she was the creator of Scissor of the Month Club and Foxy Roxy Supply Company. And so I ended up being her first brand ambassador as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that only grown.
So the actually grooming competitions opened you the path to meet her, right?
Yeah, you would say yes.
Okay, why did you start to compete? How was your first time? What?
Because I love to compete. I mean, I told you, I've competed my whole life.
What was your first show you ever entered?
Rescue Roundup at Pasadena and Groom Expo West.
Okay, and what was, how did you do?
I didn't do anything. I had a little Maltese and it didn't have a whole lot of hair. And I did a little ponytail that wasn't centered. And it had no bubble. It was just there. And there were still tangles in the toes. And my judges were very nice to me. And I was hooked. So.
And then for how long you are grooming now when you enter the Pasadena? How long you are a groomer already? When that happened?
About a year.
So you are grooming for a year, and then you enter the Pasadena, the show, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I entered Pasadena about a year after grooming.
Yeah. That's great. That's pretty a lot of self-confidence.
I like to compete. I think that was the majority of it. And I think it's something people need to remember when they want to become a grooming competitor. Like, you can't just be a good groomer. You have to be a competitor, like, in your heart. It's early morning, it's late nights, it's rules, it's judges' preference, it's all this other stuff that isn't just putting a cute haircut on the dog. So I like to compete. I went to my first trade show, which was actually Super Zoo the year before, about 6 months before, right? And I was just walking the trade show floor, and that's when I saw the grooming competition ring. So no one told me about it. I just stumbled across it, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that because I like to compete. So that's why.
So actually, and now you are completely sober and not like then when you start building your career, you are living with your puppy, you are learning the school, and then no drugs anymore, sober thing, life goes on, and here you are.
Yeah. So I got sober. It would be 9 years ago now-ish. It'll be just about 9 years. Yeah. So I can always tell with my dog, the Labrador, right? Because I got sober for her. So.
Yeah, there you go. Oftentimes that saved my life, because I was thinking about when I had these suicidal thoughts when I was a young boy going through the same thing you did. And I was just kind of, oh my God, when I was having those things, I was like, who gonna care about my Bobby, if something happened to me, or even if I do something to myself because I can't handle this pressure. So what the heck gonna happen to her? And that was kind of holding me back from, okay, I need to pull out. I need to be stronger. I need to find a way. And I'm gonna make it. And obviously the life operates. Once we want to find a way, the way just appears in front of us. Okay, that's very kind of, and then when you start, that was your first how you say that, first assignment to actually do seminars with the Foxy Roxy team, or that was already?
No, my first grooming seminar was in a friend of mine. So that happened. I was competing, but I was also posting in groups. So I had just a fair amount of grooming followers that liked me in the groups. California has a high population, so there's a lot of groomers here. So we posted a seminar in my friend's salon in Riverside, and I think about 6 people showed up, and I groomed poodles all day. And then I was hooked. I was very nervous that I was going to run out of things to talk about, like by the second dog, because it was all poodles. And then I talked about poodles all day, and I realized that I could talk about grooming all day and be totally excited about it. So I've been doing seminars since.
Yeah. How much you think actually that who you are, who the personality of you, how your personality is actually structured is more important for your achievement at the moment than how great or good or whatever level of the grooming you do. I mean, personality and that strength and that experience and who am I as a person versus you as a professional groomer, like a master groomer, the skills and the knowledge you have about grooming as a craftsmanship itself.
I think a lot of instructors are deluded if they think that the 99.9% of pet groomers that groom pets all day want to see a Continental sprayed up or a perfect Bichon crest. I think that they're crazy. I teach for pet groomers. That is not because I'm not capable of teaching more. It is because if you want to do a show trim, come bring me your dog and we'll do a private hands-on. But seminar settings are set for pet groomers. And I think that a lot of groomers get so stuck on their perfect foot and their perfect top line when at the end of the day, they're grooming the 50-pound Shih Tzu from down the road and they want to know how to get through it better and still have a cute groom that they can post on their Instagram. And I am very proud to be that person. I feel not in the slightest that my grooming skills don't come into play. I got into open level in under 18 months of grooming. I've been a master groomer in open in 18 months of competing. I was a master groomer in 18 months of grooming. I don't feel that I have grooming knowledge that isn't worth merit. The fact that I feel comfortable stepping into the spotlight and sharing my journey and talking to strangers and being kind to strangers and being approachable and being someone that they can talk to in the industry, I don't think that I should be discounted as a craftsman by any means. I think that they are equally important. And I think that's why I'm so successful, because I have both in spades.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Which one of those two you think is more important for overall success of the teacher?
I think both are very equally important. You could be very, very good at what you do and unable to connect with your students. Mm-hmm. And you could be everyone's best friend and not be able to groom your way out of entry level, right? So I think you need both.
Fair enough. They're both the same importance. So if you are the best groomer in this world, if you don't know how to connect with your audience.
So I'm just going to bow out at it being equally important and leave it at that.
Okay, makes sense. So, and then now when it comes to the, and then Pooch Perfect happens. How that happened?
We had a Groom Expo and there was a crew running around casting, and we all auditioned there, and I thought that was it. And months later, I found out that casting crew had left the project and there was a new one, and that I needed to check my email. And sure enough, they had been contacting me because the last one had passed over a list, basically. So that was about the only reach out connection, is that I didn't make it past the first crew, right, enough for them to pass my name along. But I had to go through what ended up being 11 months of auditioning. So that was in big part due to COVID, but I sent in pictures, I sent in videos, I sent in contracts and applications and legal forms and everything else for a very long time before it actually happened.
Mm-hmm. And then it happens. The shooting starts. Are you surprised with what they are asking you to do? Like, it's become to be more creative. Did you know what to expect? Did you watch the Australian episodes or no?
So we did. I watched Australia, and actually I watched the UK because that debuted prior to us starting filming for ours. And it was not nearly as creative as ours. So even if we use that as a jumping point, it was not nearly as colorful and creative as our version was, first of all. Second of all, as I mentioned, it was what turned out to be 11 months of auditioning. We found out in about, February was Pasadena. It was around October that they told us, hey, like you're going to be in the show. But if you show up with COVID, we're sending you home. So be very careful with everything you do in the next few months, because if you show up with COVID, you're going home. And that was really it. Then November came around and they said, hey, here are 10 challenges that may or may not be on the show. If they are, give us ideas of what you would do. And so we had to sketch out all these ideas. And now obviously there's way more than 10 challenges, but they wanted to give it, and every single challenge they gave us was creative. So it's about it's about 4 or 5 weeks before we have to leave for quarantine. And we're like, oh God, like the whole show is creative. And there was no time to do much, because if you left your bubble, if you went to travel cross country or cross state, you were inviting COVID into your life as well. So you could go take a creative lesson, but you may get COVID. So it was a very like curveball, because I didn't have any creative that I submitted for my portfolio, right? So I wasn't expecting it, and I think all of us just did the best that we could.
And then you make for how? When did you fell off? Like fourth, third, fifth?
I went home. No, I went home third.
You went on third. Then happened that Rainbow Challenge, right? That was the one when you kind of your life story, kind of possibility of your life story to be expressed on that little American cock, right? Well, that was the boy,
yeah.
like
yeah.
And then you tell your story, and you go home. How you felt when all of that, both like personal and professional, because I felt it. It was so hard on me, listening the story, seeing the challenge, learning a little more about your life, and you open again. You didn't need to, right? It's kind of you can choose to either go big or go home, and you did both. How do you feel?
I have no like regrets with Pooch Perfect, right? If I had to choose to do it all again, I would.
I get that. Can you come back to that moment when they sent you home after you reveal so much on that topic about you? How did you felt?
I was super mad. I actually wanted to see the interview, because for like the first 3 minutes of that interview, I was throwing an absolute fit. And then my producer's like, okay, do you want to re-record that? So, like, do you want to start from the top? And I said yes. And so then we recorded the nice one where I wasn't throwing a temper tantrum. But, I am a capable groomer. I'm a confident person. And so I wasn't expecting to go home third. And that's really all I have to say about that.
So you was angry. That was that would be the emotion you felt at that time. Anger, or what was kind of happening inside your anger? Anger?
I was mad.
He was mad.
Yeah.
Okay. So how was actually entire that Pooch Perfect? Then you get probably a lot of support from the audience, I guess, because you really get private, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot of people met you for the first time in that I guess in that
moment. Okay.
Moment, yes. And then how you deal with that? What happened after? When you go home?
The show airs, a month after I leave. And that episode doesn't air for another 3 weeks or whatever. So I feel like prepared emotionally of what could be said once it was out there.
So you actually didn't know what they're gonna put out there in the air, right?
You don't know what they're going to put out there, right? Like they could have edited that portion out just as easily. So there, I was just kind of not wondering if they were going to edit it to be good or bad, just whether it was going to be in there or not, right? So like I prepared like my mother, right? Because I know my mom's going to be like telling all of her friends to watch it, and I don't want, I just wanted her to be prepared. I didn't feel like I needed permission or anything from her, but I just wanted her to be prepared.
How did
Anyway,
she?
so
How did she reacted? What was her reaction?
I mean, she was fine, with how it went on a TV. Like when she found out, 8 years ago, it was traumatic for her. But now, it's just a part of my life. But yeah, we see that it makes the cut, right? And like I said, I was prepared for the good and the bad, and honestly, like it was there.
Were you thinking that as a kind of okay, now what made you actually come up to tell the story so openly and so live? Because that's the way to motivate others as well, is to, there is the life full of the secrets on every level,
just
but
like talking about things is good, right? Just like saying things out loud makes people like be able to breathe in their own humanity, their own faults, right? So yes, there's something to that. I knew that it was probably going to be the biggest platform that I ever had, and if you were to take my life and remove this factor from it, then I would have the perfect life in my head, right? And so it's like this thing that like I deal with every day that makes me feel so imperfect. And I just knew that I wanted to share that from the beginning. I knew that while I was on Pooch Perfect, that it was a story that I wanted to get across. Did I want it to be my last story? No, but I didn't want it to come across. They pitched us 10 ideas, right? And of those 10 ideas, one of them was the Pride episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, even when we are pitching the ideas, I told them, I said, I am really hoping you guys cut this episode, because I think that everyone's going to come out and their dogs are going to look like My Little Ponies, and it's all going to be just a bunch of rainbows everywhere. And I just don't like identify with rainbows. Like I may be a gregarious person, I may be a flamboyant person, but like I don't decorate things with rainbows. I don't do the rainbow thing. And I'm still gay and I'm still valid, and I wanted to use it as a different opportunity. So now you have to bear in mind that up until this point, all of my designs have been fairly funny, right? An elephant on the butt, right? I had the diamond with the sparkly, all over, the goat with the dinosaur.
How did you kind of dealt inside yourself with the Jorge, because he was like really tough on you?
Well, I guess we can get to that. But so at this point, everything I had done was really funny. And sure enough, I'm looking around the workroom, and everyone is doing rainbow this and rainbow that. And I just didn't want to do that. I put a leather choke spiky collar on him to represent the leather community and the daddy, leather spike type thing. But he had drag eyelashes. He had a little bit of a rainbow cloud drag wig type going on, right? But I wanted to tell the story about we can't have all of that. We can't have all of that if we don't have these very monumental, serious moments, such as, Stonewall. And that was the story that I was telling. And I was basically told by Lisa that it wasn't rainbowy enough, and she was a tiebreaker, a judge. So I'm assuming that one judge didn't like it and one judge did, and Lisa said, not enough rainbows. So
and you go, and then you feel angry.
Yeah.
So instead, you didn't feel disappointed. You didn't feel sad. You feel angry.
Right? Yeah, because so that moment that where I share everything, it's TV. So like the breakdown that I had, the crying, the sobbing, the hugging all of the castmates and hugging all of production and people breaking COVID protocol and removing their shield so that they could hug me, all of those moments happened immediately after I confessed this big thing, as opposed to an hour later when they decide to pull in, lighting and production to do the elimination. So by this point, I've already lived through all of like the potential airing of it and speaking about it with these castmates who I'm close with. All of that has already happened. So I'm just waiting up on stage with everyone else and I get eliminated and I get mad.
Okay, so and then which kind of impact the Pooch Perfect had on you after the show is actually aired? So after that goes so viral and public and known to everyone, like does something change in the perception of, feeling free again? That you don't need to kind of, blur or pretend or kind of, does it feel alive even more after that? Or what happens then when the show is finally aired with your family, with the
There
friends that
is
maybe
somewhat
didn't
of,
know?
there is somewhat of a coming out again in that moment. It is something that I deal with daily. It's something that I feel like is a real struggle to me. I've always tried to be so open with everyone, but I never knew how to tell that story. So I did always know that I wanted to share it with this community that I love, that it was okay if it doesn't have to just be that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they feel imperfect for one bad choice that they made or one bad decision, that they don't need to, that they can wear crazy suits and that they can, do silly videos and they can just live a fun life if that's what they want. So I did feel somewhat of a coming out in it, that it was kind of like opening up. And so there's a freeing feeling for sure. For the most part, the community was super nice. And there were LGBTQIA plus community organizers that reached out to me to do some interviews and stuff to share my story with that community. So there was things like that. In terms of what it changed for me in the industry, I don't know that it changed a whole lot for too many of us, because most of us got chosen because we were already pretty well known in the industry. So most of us, we got a little bit more of a pump, I guess, but no one really changed directions entirely, right? It was like we were all already on these self-motivated paths, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why we got the attention that we got in the first place. And so Pooch Perfect kind of just gave us all a little nudge on the back to keep going that way that we're going. So everyone that had the plans that we had beforehand, we're all executing them now.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, when I ask you what you think the most impactful event in your life was, then you kind of put up that one, meeting the Foxy Roxy, that you didn't go back to these painful events that you actually needed to survive in order to be who you are today, to make you a warrior and kind of to live the way of even more inspiring life when you need to deal with such a painful events that occur in your life. Watching back, and you said you don't need to blame yourself for what you did. You need to kind of arise from the ashes again, because that's what we all are great at. We try to find a way how we can put ourselves down one way or the other so we can rise again and again and again, because we are great at that. So and then you actually didn't mention that event as like most impactful event of your life. You don't find it as it is, or it's just not important anymore? If you get
Uh,
what I want to ask.
yeah, I mean, I think that the person that I want to be and the person that I work at being is most defined by the moment of meeting Jill.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I do think that that's the most important thing that I would call a significant moment in my life. Without that moment, so many others wouldn't have happened.
Great, amazing. So I also, so what are your plans for tomorrow or like for the future to come? You have a new business around that's completely not connected to the grooming. How that happen? Like a one that you have a candle shop or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's a candle bar. So people come in and we have a retail section of candles and other artisan goods, but they smell all these scents on a wall. We have 75 to 80 scents depending on the season. And they smell them. They get to pick their vessel. They come to the bar. They get to mix and match their oils and make their own fragrance concoction, and then make their own candle.
Why did
So
you need that now in this, why that? Why the candle shop?
so I went to a similar experience in the San Diego area, and I thought it was a genius. I thought it was so much fun. I had a great time. I took my mother, and she had a great time, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And I asked them if they would open a sister store or if it was a franchise, like how I could do something with them. And they pretended like they were very interested, and then they never replied to my emails or anything. So I had to do it myself. As I found a place, I learned how to make candles. I worked on my credit. I saved. I looked for a retail space. I bought industrial wax melters along the way, and I opened up about 8 months later, and it's been a roaring success. It's been so much fun, and it's been so successful, and I'm very, very excited about it. The reason why I wanted to do something outside the grooming world is because at times people have forgotten that no matter what, for people to get at the top of their game, they have to work very, very hard, and they have to have clear plans of action. And some people will say that grooming is an art, and so you can be naturally gifted or not. People could say that Jill's Foxy Roxy financially backed me to do more competitions or this or that, and those are just excuses to say, make up why you didn't do it yourself. And so I wanted to do something else, because if you're going to say that I'm just naturally gifted and lucky at who I met in grooming, then fine. But why can I make something successful over here too? Well, it's because it just takes a certain recipe. It takes a certain amount of dedication. It takes a certain amount of action. It takes a certain amount of studying, and you can do anything. So
then again, it comes to the point, like you want to show them, whoever them are, that you can do it outside and on your own and by yourself. Is that so important to you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's inspiring for people to see you succeed completely on your own merits. So I want to show people that it's not my scissor isn't straighter than yours, right? My 32 teeth thinning shear doesn't have more teeth than your 32 teeth, right? We all have the same things to deal with in our own way, and it's how you handle them. And so you could say I'm trying to show them in spite, but like I said, it's kind of what you feel in your heart, and I don't do it for those reasons. I share my journey in a very positive light, very intentionally, to inspire others to do it as well.
Is there anything, because it's so like already an hour, I have so many things coming out in my mind to ask you. So thank you so much for being so inspiring to me to talk to you. And, there is, creating content is not an easy thing, especially if you want to keep doing it over and over and over and over. So how do you keep yourself disciplined enough and motivated to do so?
It's, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not easy. I go through waves of making lots of content, and I go through waves of not making a whole lot of content. The quickest, easiest way I can tell people to think of it is I like to think of it um, as a hose. You have to think of creativity as a hose. And the way a hose works is like water can't come outside of one end if you don't put water inside the other side. And so you can't have content come out if you don't put ideas in. And so constantly, like, you can't just have an idea and decide that, oh, you're missing that backdrop or you're missing that prop, so I can't do it, or I'll do it later. You can't do that. You have to write it down. You have to do the parts that you can do. You have to order the thing that you're missing. You have to stop by that store that you need to stop by. You need to book that dog with a little extra time so that you can make that content that you want to make. You have to actually just put it in the hose. And the order that stuff goes in may not come out the same way, but as long as it's going in. So I have, notes on my cell phone that have songs that I'm inspired by to put creative content to. I have notes of ideas. I have a wall filled with wigs. I have I just always am building things to create content because you have to put it inside the hose to get it out the other end.
And then, because once you are exposed as much as you are, and the internet is a very cruel place to be exposed at, do you experience bullying online? Since you are so much exposed, do you experience bullying? And if yes, how do you deal with it? And do you find it bullying at all?
Yeah, of course I am bullied. I always tell people that no matter what you're posting, to assume that someone's not going to like it. And that's not just on the internet, right? That's in life. You yourself, right? You could shave with a razor and someone's going to tell you that they love it and someone's going to tell you that they hate it. And then you can grow it out to this double length and someone else is going to tell you that they love it and someone else is going to tell you that they hate it. And then you could grow it out to a beard, right? And have it an inch long. And guess what? Someone's going to love it and someone's going to hate it. There's nothing in life that you can't do or do that someone won't love and hate. So if you're posting thinking that you're going to make everyone happy, you're already in the wrong headspace. So I just assume that it's going to piss someone off, and I'm okay with that, first of all.
And then do you reply? Do you get pissed?
99 out of 100 times I don't reply. If I ever reply, it is one single solitary, clear, concise reply that addresses any and all concerns that may or may not be valid. And then I never reply again. I just refer to it as stop, drop, and roll. Whenever you feed a fire, no matter what, it lasts longer. You could feed a fire and it's going to last longer. So I just never feed a fire.
Yeah, okay. You never feed the fire, but then personally, how do you deal? Did you achieve that level that you really don't care, or not yet?
No, I think everyone will always care. It's not nice to hear someone say mean things about your salon or your face or the dog that you groomed. There's never going to be a time where people are just okay with that, right? I'm more okay with it because, maybe I'm more confident in how I look because I'm older and I don't care about those things as much, but that doesn't mean that I don't care at all, right? And so I don't think that it's that at all. I think that I have learned that any time that you respond to negativity in any way, shape, or form, it comes off as defending. And when you defend something, you make it look as though it needed defending. And I don't believe in making myself look guilty when I don't feel guilty. So I don't respond to negativity because I feel like proof is in the pudding. I don't need to defend myself.
So then, and then the day goes by, all the content is made, everything is great. the shy of these ring lights and everything is off, and the Blake goes home tired of day and content producing and inspiring the people and everything. And then what happens then? How do you kind of like, how would you say who the Blake is today if you would need to define yourself in that? So not this one that we see, like, but when you stay alone, everything is off, no internet, no nothing. How do you feel today? And who is the Blake that the Blake Hernandez have created that we all can see?
I mean, there isn't a whole lot of off time. Like, you guys don't see a lot of it, but you know, I write an article once a month. I produce a video, an educational video once a week. I run my candle shop in a city that's 3.5 hours away. I manage this salon and I groom clients out of this salon. When I'm home, I have a big wall calendar that has all of my teaching assignments on it. I'm constantly replying to teaching assignment things and staying on top of that. So I don't have a whole lot of off time. Yesterday, I really took advantage of a day off, right? And what did I do? We went to the farmer's market and we bought flowers and fresh mushrooms and homemade butter and things like that. And we went home and we made homemade chicken broth. And I made my favorite mushroom sauce for dinner. So I do very normal things. I have 6 dogs at home, and in the mornings I like to play with them, and in the evenings I like to keep them calm. You know, I don't know. I don't do anything that you wouldn't expect someone to do. I love sheets, so I have about 20 pairs or different sets of sheets, and I change my bedding all the time, and I have trunks and bags and closets filled with comforters and blankets because I love sheets and blankets. And I don't know, that's it.
Okay, so if you can you name like 5 people that you are really thankful for that helped you become who you are today? 5.
Yeah. My mother, Jill, Haley, Todd, Shelley, Antoine Lechois, and Garrett, my brother.
Your brother. Okay, and then where do you see yourself like 5 years from now? Do you have a plan at all?
I have more of like a 1-year plan, right? Like, I just opened this candle shop and the goal is to get my money back out of it in a year and open another one. So it's kind of like the 1-year goal.
Are you transitioning from the beginning to the business corporate candle entrepreneurship?
I have no shame in saying that I would like to explore the entrepreneurial side of life a little bit more. It is nice being able to be in Utah teaching a seminar, doing something that I love while I have a retail shop back at home making money while my salon is grooming dogs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with enjoying that. And if I can add a few more businesses into the ring, that's cool too. And but I haven't needed to groom in a couple years, and I still have always groomed every single week because I love it. So I don't see myself ever stopping.
You don't see ever stopping grooming, but you keep adding more businesses to the picture, so you can kind of enjoy this excitement of, you know, growing out from nothing into something, I guess. That's yeah. Okay. And then how do you keep yourself motivated? Only that one more. How you keep yourself motivated? Why you're doing all of this?
I mean, I don't know. I think that part of it is something that you just have to have in yourself, right? Like, it's not, when I tell people that 4 days ago I was in Utah, 3 days ago I was in Texas, 2 days ago I was in San Diego, then I drove to Bakersfield, and like, when I tell them these things and it doesn't sound fun and they say that you're crazy, they're not wrong. So, like, it's hard doing those things and you have to stay motivated. And I don't know what makes someone capable of waking up at 4 o'clock to get the day started versus someone who's not. But I've always been able to do it. I've always been able to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and get something done because I wanted to achieve that one thing. And I think it's just that kind of mentality. Sometimes it's really hopeful, right? I really want to achieve something because it would be so nice and it would make me feel so good. And other times I do it because I feel obligated to, right? I said I was going to do something, so I don't want to let someone down because I said I would do it. And then other times it's because I know I could do more. If I feel like I'm getting lazy and I feel like I'm not doing enough, I have honest discussions with myself and realize that, like, I am capable of adding a little bit more. And I think that I just have the mentality to change that. If I can, then I will. And so it just depends on the day. It depends on the day. But being motivated, a big part of that is being able to do it when you don't want to do it. And so it's not always a happy, happy story. Sometimes it's, an extra cup of coffee and a really, really long day.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then actually, this is that's this world is a world of untold ideas and undreamed, untold dreams, just because the people are lazy to do it. This world is not in lack of the ideas and not in lack of the dreams. It's a lack of action pursuing those dreams. And your beautiful story, that what you can do in your life with 9 years and reaching the top, that you actually feel like, oh, there is no space for me to kind of like be more creative, that I keep growing, but it's not enough. Let's open the other business. Let's start some other adventure. And you keep pushing it on yourself, adding more to the plate, then where you are actually on the position where you can maybe extract from the plate and enjoying more, mushroom chickens and blankets and time for yourself that you just don't give yourself. Do you miss that time for yourself?
No, I don't, because I it's just not in my nature, like, I wasn't the kid that played video games for hours on end. That was never me. I was the kid that went to baseball practice and then gymnastics practice and then came home and did all of his homework and read the dictionary. Like, I just always wanted to achieve. It's My mom taught me something. She taught all of us, and I just always have done it. You can have dreams, but if they're you can have goals, but if they're just these ambiguous things, then they're just dreams. But if you put like a date and a timeline and a plan to these goals, then they're goals. And so we would write down these things that we wanted to achieve, and then she would make us write dates next to them so that we had an idea of when we wanted to achieve them by. And so it very much could just be something that I learned as a child to identify what I wanted to accomplish and identify a reasonable amount of time to achieve that, and a timeline and a plan of action to do so. That's just something that I was taught as a child that I still do. I still have lists and dates, and looking back at them is always fun.
That's amazing. And how your parents are looking at you now, like after all this success, since on the beginning, they, like you said, your parents didn't have like too much support to your grooming adventure. How is today?
I mean, we're good now. Well, kind of, right? My mom and I are great. I mean, we were good even in the beginning, but she now she doubted the grooming thing, and now she's so behind it that when I said that I wanted to do the candle thing, she didn't understand that either. But she was like, well, I was wrong about the grooming, so I'm just gonna let him do his thing because Blake is smart and he'll do fine. And so that's kind of where it is. My father and I have been estranged for a couple years now. So I don't talk to my father anymore. So I don't know how he feels. That's a different story.
That's a different story. Is that story shaping the way we act today as well, or that's something that goes along with the way we live?
My dad has just never really had, like, he left while my mom was pregnant, so I never really had a real father-son relationship with him ever in my life. And when it got into adulthood, it was more perfunctory and obligatory of a relationship. And when we both admittedly got lazy with it, I just identified it as being just a relationship that wasn't contributing anything positive to either of us. And so, that's the tamest and quickest way to describe that situation. But because he's never been a strong influence in my life, I don't feel like it's too influencing. I think that I had put such a big tribe of family around me to influence my actions that I never felt without. Like, I could understand if you lived in a small nuclear family, but I lived with my cousins, I lived with my tias, I lived, in this very large family, where there was just always someone around to take care of you or to drive you somewhere or to help you with homework, or like, I was never lacking in that. So
that's nice, actually. The nice way of looking at that. I'm now 48, and I had the same idea of how my father was involved in my life. But now when I turn back and see what actually his being next to me or his absence did to my life and contributed by him not being next to me, who I become because I was exposed to other people, or I was just needed to find out who I am, do it myself because there was nothing to rely on, or he was doing it his way. Slowly I discovered that, yeah, that's actually pretty big impact. And then I wouldn't be who I am today if it wouldn't be for him the way he was. But all of us need to have this journey, and it comes probably with a how I say maturity, or I can say so, especially because I am a father, and now I see from the perspective of how does it looks like when you wear father shoes and you try to do your best, but sometimes you are the type of the person that maybe the best way to contribute to the entire picture is not to be in a picture. Because, sometimes we have a parents with a different kind of not that I want to, make up anything there. I just say my perspective from both as a son and as a father, and having age of, 84, like almost 50 years now, everything comes in its place. And as you said, like, if there wouldn't be for the bad relationship, maybe you would never end up in the LA, or not LA but San Francisco, right? And then some bad thing occur, and then if you observe again back to that point, because it's very important. And you pointed, like, I didn't want to dig my finger inside your eyes and kind of bringing these painful events from the life, but you touched the point of pretty number of those. And then later on, how the story unfolded was that, yeah, there was a painful event that created a nice outcome. And then if you focus on the event, the outcome doesn't get a value as it should be, because without the painful event, I would never become who I am, strong enough to create out from the painfulness the greatness, what makes me who I am today, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So if you would be able to see and learn about Blake, I would love, to thank for your honesty, for your truth in this 1.5 hour that went by so fast. I don't know where did we ended up having 1.5 hour conversation, but it was so much inspiring, and I really enjoyed talking to you, learning a little more about you. And I'm very grateful for you being so honest and open and touch point on everything, how the Blake Hernandez created the Blake we know today. And I'm so happy actually to see that there is a lot of things that you actually, who you present you are, you really are. Did you create any story that you because that was actually, I had that on my list, that I don't have a list here for the questions. I wanted to say, like, sometime when you create a content, do you always want to be straightforward, closely honest, and blindly honest? Or sometimes you kind of want to make things up so they look better than they actually are?
So I do truly believe on being yourself. The number one reason for that is not so much what you would think it is. It's that you will not be able to forever be someone that you are not. So if it is not natural to you, if it is not truly in your nature, in terms of creating content in that direction, it is almost impossible to keep up a fake front. So that is first and foremost why I am always honest online, because I can't be someone I'm not and keep up this career for years and years. Yeah. Another reason is because I am always very honest in the person that I portray and the person that I'm being and the message that I'm trying to get across. The only construct, right, is maybe timing, right? I use influencer knowledge to better post at the right, like I post things at the right times. I announce things at the right times. I kind of lay out when I'm going to post certain things so that it flows a certain way on my page if someone were to scroll and look at my page for more than just one post. So there are things like that that I manipulate and I control because I want to be smart about when and what I'm posting. But in terms of being someone else, I am not.
Yeah, and I'm so happy actually that the Blake that's created by the Blake is actually the same Blake. Thank you so much.
I tell people that when there are others that maybe say negative things about me or think negatively of me, the only thing I can think of is that they have an idea of who I am because of what I portray online. They imagine me to be something else. Anyone that spends any time with me, it's very easy to see that, like, I am hardworking and I am intelligent and I am caring and I am thoughtful, and it just, sometimes it's the level of confidence and outward, emoting that makes some people uncomfortable, and it's through no fault of my own. It maybe is something that they're not used to. You come from a small, quiet family, and I come from a big, large family, loud. That type of energy can sometimes just really suffocate someone in an initial meet or something like that. So I just, anyone that spends time with me, I hope leaves thinking, okay, that guy is not what I thought he was online, being like, he's much more well-rounded.
I must be honest that I was kind of not no, what you saw, that what I saw I got, and especially now when I had this conversation with you, I felt the same. Nothing changed. I just got more deeper perception of how hard work always pays out, and how no matter what happened, there is always chance to move on, and there is always ways to find a way to move on and actually build on that. Whatever happened, build on top of that rather than becoming a victim of the events happened to us. And that's such an inspiring story you shared with us tonight. And everyone who wants to learn more about, how to, not only about you, but also how to turn little life defeats into the victory, the great victories actually, in only 9 years of you being present on the stage. That's amazing on its own. And yeah, and that's what the present of this Grooming with a Positive Mental Attitude entire series has won. You need to have a skills, you need to have a knowledge that no one is doubting about, but that somehow it's only thing that the people are interested in. And then, as you said, like it's on equal importance. The attitude you give into presenting your work is of same importance as your work is. But if you deduct the mental attitude, then you are left with a perfect, extremely perfect, or not perfect, or even more perfect in future to come, that you will not be able to use it at all, because a big component of the personality is missing, a mental attitude that the people will actually learn about. Oh yeah, he puts in himself, whoever himself is. And then when you add to it great technical skills and knowledge about the dogs and the grooming itself like a craft, you get a whole picture. And you are right, neither of those two is of less importance. And the focus should be on both, because both are the crafts on its own, and we need to learn them both. The craft of the grooming and the scissors and perfect whatever, and then message, the self-confidence gaining in order to.
Doctors have to have bedside manner, right? You could be great, but you have to have some bedside manner. So I feel like, because I feel like there's a little bit of a advantage sometimes not being a second generation groomer or a third generation dog show person, because while they're very talented from a very young age and know how to do these immaculate trims, sometimes they do things just because they've always done them that way. And it's hard for someone who's 35 years old and learning how to groom, who's never even seen a Bedlington, let alone knows what a rise over the loin is, that they're going to just do it that way. Because no, so you have to describe it in a way that makes sense to real people. And I came into this as an adult, seeking out just something that I loved, and that's been a big help to me as an industry leader, is being able to just connect with people on a very real level and hope to communicate those chunks of knowledge in a personality and in a presentation that is consumable.
Consumable. Yeah. That's a great. So I was I was right. I was very happy to have you on my podcast, and I'm sure you're gonna, with this open story, you're gonna even reach more people in a sense that I think can inspire them, because the Blake by Blake is a Blake, and that's what I'm very, very happy to discover. Thank you so much, Blake, for your time, for your honesty, and a very inspiring story. And I wish you all the best in the time to come, with no matter which endeavor you kind of choose to move on with. And I'll keep watching and learning about whatever comes next and whatever brings the future when you are in question. So thanks a lot. Good show. Thank you very much for. Do you want to close with just say something, whatever you want to say, like a closing sentence to the people?
No, not really like a standard bow out or anything. I am on everything, right? You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. I produce different content for each platform. But if you want to message me, the best is Facebook Messenger. Any of my products can be found at Foxy Roxy Supply Company, and my education is available on Groom Source, GROOMSOURCE, Groom Source. It is an app that you can pay a monthly subscription to have access to all of our library, in addition to the new content that's put out every single week. So that is that.
There you go. Like that's not. And again, like how much discipline you need to have in order to have all of this, what you just said, moving is something that you can find in this, watch the podcast again and keep understanding like how the great ideas are, great dreams and ideas are put in practice by making them a goals and then give a strict action plan and then execute that, put it in action, but real action is actually making you successful. And Brank, I'm so happy that I get this chance to chat with you. Have a blessed life. And to you all of guys, thank you so much for watching. See you next Monday on the new podcast named Grooming with a Positive Mental Attitude with a new guest that you're going to be surprised with. I can't wait to see you next Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Blake, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching and see you next Monday. Bye.